Let's talk about Chelsea. You'd say a slow start. They drew with Liverpool. They lost to West Ham United. Should Chelsea fans be concerned? I saw Danny Mills. I saw a headline, Poch on the rocks, and I thought, that's a little bit much after 2 games. Poch on the rocks. And I say that, having just said what I've said about Erik Ten Hag, but he had all of last season. Poch has just got in there, and he was late taking the job as well, and he's working with players who've been thrown together. And I think we can say that almost literally. Players
do you know what it reminds me of, Adrian? It's a little bit like Forest last season. You know, they're just buying everybody that was sort of available. Chelsea have pretty much done something similar. It's like, well, we want them, we'll buy them. Simple as that. And that's what they've gone out and done. No, it doesn't look like there's a real plan as to why.
Isn't that down to the manager to put them together, to put the pieces together?
Yeah, but
are you saying there's no strategy?
No, sometimes the pieces don't fit.
Okay, so they haven't. You don't think they've sat down and thought, right, we need one holding midfielder. Well, let's go and get 2. We actually need a striker. We haven't really got one yet. So you don't think there's been a strategic plan to recruit in a sensible way?
It certainly doesn't look like that.
You're right. I agree with that.
From the outside.
But then Pochettino would know that surely, and he would look at it. Why would he take the job if it was that bad? The planning.
It's also a job that you're not going to get offered too often. You're thinking, well, I've got an embarrassment of riches. If I can make the jigsaw work, then I've got half a chance. And I'm pretty sure from the outside, when Frank Lampard looked at it and thought, there's a lot of good players there, they can't be that bad. And then walked through the door and probably went, oh, maybe it's not what I thought it was. And maybe Poch is getting a little bit of that. The other issue that I have with what Chelsea are doing is, where's the hunger and desire for not all, but some of those players when you're giving them 8-9-year contracts? All they've got to do is go. We always talk about youngsters having too much too soon. Chelsea have bought some young players in that as well. But you're giving them a 9-year contract. They've only got to go, you know what, I'm going to put my feet up, but just a little bit. I'm going to come off, I'll come off at 10%, and suddenly you've no longer got the play you thought you had. It's a huge margin to drop off 10%. You know,
do players really do that? Are they not? Do they not want to win regardless of what they're paid?
But subconsciously, yes. When you go out on the pitch, yes, you want to win. But are you prepared to put in the hard hours of training? Remember, 90 minutes is a snippet. That's the pinnacle. That's the icing on the cake. All the hard yards gets done on the training ground. Putting in that work day in, day out that nobody sees, that you don't get pats on the back for, you don't get any plaudits for. And even you can look at the likes of Ronaldo, who was exceptional off the pitch up until the last couple of seasons, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, his routine, Zlatan, exactly the same. Are all those players going to be of that character? I'm not sure they are. I think it's a very, very dangerous game, putting players that haven't achieved an awful lot, 9-year deal. I mean, it's like if talkSPORT gave you a 9-year deal, you'd think, well, if I have a couple of bad shows, it don't matter.
You don't know me. You really don't know me.
No,
I know what you're saying, though. I do get what you're saying.
I would say 80-90% of people are in that mould. If suddenly everything's secure, you can't help but go, oh, I don't quite need to push as much as I was, because you become comfortable. And we've seen it time and time again when young players have had too much too soon. So I think it could backfire massively in 2 or 3 seasons' time at Chelsea.
It's really interesting because what alerted me to this wasn't just that headline, Poch on the rocks. It was DJ Majestic and Alan Pardew, their show on Sunday night on talkSPORT, which is a great listen, by the way, Sunday evening, just rounding up all the weekend's football. And they took a call from a Chelsea fan who said that Poch should go. And I thought, sorry, this is utter nonsense. I mean, but it was on the wake up. It was an emotional call after they'd lost 3-1 at West Ham. However, I kind of thought about things. I have my little notebook with me, and I jotted down in my notebook. They played well. Chelsea have played well in large parts of both games this season. I'd say for an hour they were on top against Liverpool after weathering a storm early on. Probably you'd say deserved to win the game, but got a draw out of it. In both games, Raheem Sterling, I think, has been excellent and will be knocking on the England door again if he continues like that. If they score the penalty, then I think a lot of us might have thought they're going to go on to beat West Ham. And Andy Jacobs on H&J analysed this perfectly Monday afternoon. I was listening to him and he said, if they score that penalty, West Ham can't continue with the tactics that they were employing at 1-1 and at 0-0 as well. And he's absolutely bang on. Terrible penalty. And I do wonder, now that the penalty taker's changed, I do wonder if Poch was really overseeing penalty practice, seeing who should be the penalty taker. Because if Enzo Fernandez has been taking his penalties in training like that, surely Pochettino must have watched and said, no, you're not on them, mate. Let's get somebody else in. So, but if they score that penalty, which 9 times out of 10 they will, they beat West Ham. Let's not forget as well, Chukwuemeka got injured in the West Ham game. So that's unfortunate. And he was playing well, he'd scored. And Nkunku's injured as well, and he's one of the best players in Europe. So I think he could make a massive difference to this team. He's out for a good few months. So I think there's things that have worked against them. I think all the stuff you say about recruitment, I understand that, and I think all of that has to settle down. The ownership has to settle down. But I don't think Chelsea are that bad, are they? On the pitch?
No, they've got some really good players.
Yeah.
They've got some real talented players, and Poch will look at that and go, what he's got to do now is select the players that he can get a tune out of. He's got to go, and this is the problem when you come in relatively late and you don't know the players, and some of the players are only just coming in, and they can't all be his buys. There's no chance.
No, not at all.
So he's now got to assess their character very, very quickly. Who's the ones that are going to put a shift in when the chips are down a little bit? Who's not going to sulk? Who's going to be the James Milners that are just at it 100% every single day, no matter what? Who's going to be the Nicholas Anelka, who's incredibly talented, but doesn't quite fancy it today, goes missing in training? He's got to work out that very, very quickly. And, of course, he's got to do it on the fly now while they're playing games. And that's not easy. If he does that, they'll be okay. But I think his biggest problem is to find out the good characters. They're all good players, but who are the good characters in there? I
think the West Ham defeat was a shock to the system for a lot of Chelsea fans, but I think if they analyse both games, they'll realise things aren't actually that bad. It's a chaotic circus behind the scenes at Chelsea, and the recruitment does look totally wild. However, I think on the pitch, me personally, I don't think they're that bad.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.